For the, good evening, welcome to the October 28th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission. And I'd ask if you can stand as we do the slide. So, President we have Diane Picasso, Jack Bowen, myself, and Jack. It is 6:30. And I will have this, we usually do a public comment period at 6:30, and if you have any comments you wish to make other than I would ask of the open hearings, you're certainly welcome to it. Not, if not, you're here for the hearing, but I assume at that point, once we have opened it up, we'll open up to the public. So does anyone else have anything for public comment? No? Members, I know we're supposed to have the dam first, but we have a few small filings, and I'm just gonna ask, is anyone here for 123 Andover Road? No? Is anyone here for 505 Boston Road? No, all right, then I won't move those forward. So. All right. 6:31. I will open the hearing for the Wetlands Protection Act and the Blue River Wetlands Protection Bylaw hearing, notice of intent, public hearing for Faulkner Street, the Talbot Mills Dam, file number 109-1585 and DBL 1585. For the record, show that it's 6:32 and just now. That's just. We're all showing as PDF. I remember happening last time, actually. This is going to show it for me. I could just do it from the PDF, I guess, but if you guys ever run into that, Christine is our.
It's so hard to hear.
Sorry, I was just asking that administrative question to get started. Normally, they have to be on the animation. I know.
Right, click and try to open with.
Open part. It should, if it's not, there's a follow button. Oh. We had turned just the mouse on because we made it. Yeah.
That's your problem. I like powerful on the machine.
Huh. There's no problem, so. Okay. I have my computer. Can I run my computer? Okay, yes, I'll be right back. Sorry. You need yeah. In the meantime, Harrison. Wait. Sorry. Sorry, folks. I think it'll be a little easier to see the graphics and stuff if I get it through PowerPoint.
Just to mention to everybody, the owner of the dam is flying today from Florida, Bob Martin. He's on his way en route. Did you hear anything, Bill? Yeah, he flew today. He's supposed to be here. So we expect him to be here at 6:30, but he may be rolling in at any minute.
Not here.
Yeah. A couple other issues. Yeah.
Well, we can just go.
But they really become. Are you your open, Google hearing or?
You have a backup plan here? Yeah.
PDF instead of PowerPoint with the animation. It's a little bit less features. Sure.
And you just one with that? Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that, folks. So. You did it, you just advance it with the mouse, but then here. It's touch. It's touch, okay. So, hi, everybody, welcome. I'm Jill Griffith. I'm with Gomez and Sullivan Engineers. I'm the engineering consultant for the Talbot Dam Removal, Talbot Dam Removal Project. I've been working on the project for about 10 years, since the early feasibility studies. And I have with me here today. Page down. There we go. There's a large project team for this project. A number of the project teammates are here today in the audience. I will point them out and a few of them that might chime in to answer some questions later on. As was mentioned, Robert Martin is the dam owner and applicant. He was flying to arrive here today. He may be a little delayed, but he is hoping to be here. I will be presenting and speaking for the project on his behalf.
We also have, ORS, the local watershed organization for the, Sudbury, Assabet, and Concord Rivers. Alton Field Zuma is here, as well as Heather Conkerton. And, the Massachusetts Division of Ecological Restoration is a project funder and technical partner. I don't believe there's anyone here from that agency yet tonight. From the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries, we have Ben Gittigan. Other. And also from the NOAA Restoration Center, we have Aaron Hutchins and Brian Keller. And from the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust, we have Jane. And from the Merrimack River Watershed Council, we have Matthew Craig. Anyone in the project team? And as you can see, we have other partners as well. We've also consulted with multiple state, federal, and local agencies on the project. So to start, I'll just give a little overview. We're just gonna do, yeah.
Can people just move that over?
Oh, yeah.
See any of that? Let me get over to the left. I move it.
Can you see this?
There's the dam on.
Yeah, come on up. Just getting started, you can take that. So we're just getting started, so I'll just kind of give a quick overview and then you can come in and say some words.
Okay, Jill, make sure you speak nice and loud. You gotta back in the corner, and I don't even know if there's anyone out in the hall.
Okay. So, apologies for the technical delays. I'm just gonna give a brief, about 20-minute overview of the project, and then I believe it'll be, questions from the commission and then, questions from the public. So for the presentation here tonight, I'm just gonna give an overview of the project, talk about some of the wetland resources, impacts and benefits. Talk about how we envision approaching construction and, sum it up. Okay. So, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the dam, but I just thought I'd give an overview of it for those who aren't. So this is Faulkner Street and turns into Old Elm Street here. This is the Faulkner Street Bridge, and here you've got the Faulkner Mill Building and the Peace Industries Building. And the Talbot Mills Dam is right here, just upstream of the Faulkner Street Bridge. This is the spillway, and it's got an abutment on each side that ties into the bridge and the surrounding property. This is what's referred to as the mill pond, or the impoundment that is impounded upstream of the dam. And a couple other things. There's a building here that is a former warehouse that is currently being renovated for the future home of the Middlesex Canal Museum. And we've got a small park on this side and a parking lot and an abandoned lot on this side over here. And the flow goes this way, and this is the Concord River that the dam is impounding. As far as the project area, so outlined in green here is the mill pond that I was showing you on the previous slide, and the dam is right here. The Concord River flows up like this to the north. And this whole area is what we're calling the project area for the purposes of this project, what's referred to as the lower impoundment up to the Pollard Street Bridge crossing over the river. And the reason it's defined as the project area is because this is the area of the most significant change is anticipated from the dam being removed. So once the dam is removed, water levels will change in the impoundment, they will drop, and the impoundment will narrow. But up to this point, above that, upstream of that point, the difference will be very small, just a matter of inches. And the reason for that is this is around the Pollard Street Bridge is a high point called the Fordway Bar. It's a natural feature of hard bedrock and other hard non-erodible substrate that is a naturally high point in the river. As you can see in this map of the river channel bottom, the the darkest blue is deep areas, like in the mill pond, it's very deep. And you can see it gets much higher up here at the Fordway Bar. It's only about a foot and 1.4 feet below the elevation of the dam spillway itself. So that area would become a new, what's called a grade control. It would essentially set the elevation of water levels upstream of that point once the dam is removed. And over here, you can see that we probed that area, with mechanical equipment to see how deep the sediment is and how erodible the material is, and a matter of inches of sediment over hard rock. So it's a firm, non-erodible feature. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you the same area from the Pollard Street Bridge to the dam, but in a profile view cut along the river. So that's what this is here. So flow is coming downstream like this. Here's the Pollard Street Bridge, same as we were just looking at, and the Talbot Mill stand here. And the Faulkner Street Bridge that picks up higher. This is that four-way bar, this is the river bottom in brown. And this is that four-way bar hard rock feature that I was talking about. And you can see here it's much higher than the surrounding river bottom. And it's not that much lower than Talbot Mill spillway itself. So that essentially acts as a new small feature controlling water levels upstream once the dam is removed. So this water is the water surface. Water surface like this for existing conditions, and once the dam is removed, its dashed line is how the water level would change. And so you can see that the most significant change is within that lower impoundment below the Pollard Street Bridge. Upstream of that point, it's only less than up to a matter of 2 to 5 inches, depending on the flow level that you look at, as far as what the change in water level would be. For that reason, wetland impacts upstream of this point are also insignificant, very small, because the small, this matter of inches of change in water level and also the narrow riverine bank, you're not getting a lot of lateral change with water level drops of that small amount. So, next I'm just going to talk a little bit about the potential impacts and benefits to the wetland resources. This is just an overview of the wetland delineation that was conducted for the project. It was originally conducted in 2022. It was recently reflagged this month. So here it is around the mill pond and potential staging areas, and then extending further down here, there's a long bordering vegetated wetland that extends down here. These maps show existing wetland resources on this side and proposed on this side. So this is what would happen once the dam is removed to the wetland resources. And you can see in blue, this is the land underwater, basically the river and the impoundment. In white are bordering vegetated wetlands, so the wetlands that are adjacent to the water. In teal with the lines, that's bordering land subject to flooding, so essentially floodplain. In yellow, that's the 100-foot buffer off of bank or bordering vegetated wetlands. And in pink is the 200-foot, what's called the riverfront area, which is a 200-foot buffer off the bank. So looking over here, you can see how things would change when the dam is removed. The water would narrow to a more natural riverine shape and width all the way through the former impoundment. The areas that were formerly impounded for the mill pond would be drained and would convert into new wetlands. So they would become vegetated wetland areas that are great habitat and flood control areas, floodplains, etc. They also would vegetate naturally from the seed bank that is in the sediment. And we've seen this at many dam removals throughout Massachusetts. The border, you can see the floodplain would basically encompass that new vegetated wetland area. And the buffers would change accordingly off the new bank line and vegetated wetland. This image I wanted to show because it helps conceptualize what that map would actually look like on the ground. This is a drone image of the impoundment. So the dam is down here and the flow goes this way. And this bright green area is the whole mill pond, and you can see it fills in heavily during the summer months with water chestnut, which is an invasive species. It gets very thick. It doesn't provide any habitat for aquatic species, and you can't even really paddle through it. It's so thick. So really the only part that remains open is the main flow path here. And this provides a nice visualization to see what the river channel would look like after the dam is removed. This would be the new river channel. in all these areas that are currently covered with the invasive water chestnut would, dewater and stabilize in place and become those new wetlands. This is the same information as the maps that I just showed you, but in numbers. So the changes to, for example, the land underwater, bordering vegetated wetlands. And you can see that some of these would increase and some would decrease. For example, land underwater and bordering vegetated wetlands are similar numbers, but one is a decrease and one is an increase. That's because it's essentially converting from land underwater to new wetlands. And this is being permitted, this project is eligible for permitting as an ecological restoration project, which is something that in the wetland regulations that allows for these types of projects that are a net positive for the environment. And it allows for temporary or permanent loss or conversion of wetlands. So that's what you're seeing here for the overall greater benefits of the project. Just a little bit more about the ecological restoration project. As I mentioned, it's eligible, meets the criteria as both a dam removal and a fish passage restoration project. It requires consultations with various agencies, which we have been conducting, the DEP, Division of Marine Fisheries, Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, and Dam Safety. And these projects require that the project furthers at least one of the interests identified in the wetland regulations to some degree, and this project definitely does that for a number of interests, such as protection of fisheries, protection of wildlife habitat, prevention of pollution, storm damage prevention, and flood control, which I'll go into a little bit more on the next slide. So these are those protected interests and how the project benefits them. Fisheries is the primary goal of the project to restore passage and habitat for what are called anadromous fish species, which are migratory fish that require moving between marine and freshwater environments in order to complete their life cycle. These are fish like river herring, which are hudak herring, alewives, American shad, American eel, and sea lamprey. And you might think, why are these fish important? I've never heard of them, or I don't eat them, or whatever, but they're important forage species for a number of other fish, including striped bass, cod, trout, all kinds of fish in the ocean. So they support both commercial and recreational fisheries in that way. The project will also benefit wildlife habitat. As I mentioned, they're forage species, not only for other fish, but also for wildlife, such as herons, seals, whales, otters, cormorants, all kinds of species like that. So in that way, it benefits wildlife. Other ways that the project will benefit wildlife habitat is the creation of the new wetlands along the sides in the former incumbent areas, as I mentioned, is a great area for wildlife habitat. And it will be eliminating this monoculture of invasive water chestnut, which is not good for wildlife habitat. Prevention of pollution. Those new wetlands that I talked about are great at filtering pollutants that come into the waterways from stormwater runoff. So essentially acting as a big sponge to filter and soak in that stormwater. And also dam removal projects have been demonstrated to improve water quality, both by decreasing water temperatures, which are not good for aquatic species if they get too high, and also increasing dissolved oxygen, which are also important for aquatic. And lastly, flood control and storm damage prevention. As we all know, climate change is resulting in increasingly higher storms. We have seen dams failing in the news. Removal of the dam would eliminate the risk of a catastrophic dam failure, which would impact property downstream. It would also reduce flooding on the upstream side of the dam, where there are currently neighborhoods in the FEMA flood zone that have to pay flood insurance. That would reduce the extent and depth of that flooding to an extent. And lastly, as I mentioned, those new wetlands would help absorb floodwaters and provide more floodplain storage. And the project also meets the performance standards of both the Wetlands Protection Act and the Billerica Wetlands Protection Regulations, such as for the resources such as fish runs, banks, bordering vegetated wetlands, land under waterways, and subject to flooding and area. And that's detailed in the application. That's to help meet those performance standards, but I'm happy to take questions on that. All right. So just to talk a little bit about the construction approach. Basically, there's a number of different alternatives for access and staging for this project, and we're just looking to permit the maximum potential extent of impact, to leave more flexibility for the contractor and, the landowners at the time of construction. So the orange is the potential access and staging areas that we're looking to permit for the project. And as far as the approach, this is one potential scenario. There are others that we're also considering that are in the plans, but this is alternative one in the plan. That would involve essentially step one would be to lower the impoundment, and there's a number of ways to do that, either using part of the dam first, or using some other means such as siphons to get the water level a little lower, so that then a temporary stone access road can be built through the impoundment. And the dam can then be breached on one side and then continue across, working backwards and removing the temporary road as we go. And this image shows the extent of removals. So here's the dam itself. And in red is the area to be removed, so the spillway and that concrete abutment that I mentioned. The other abutment on this side, which is pictured down here, would be retained both for historic commemoration and also to support the adjacent bridge. And a portion of the spillway would be retained as well. They're stepping down like that. And lastly, for construction approach is the approach for sediment management. So up on the upstream side of dams, sediment accumulates over time, and you have to come up with a plan to actively manage that during construction or effectively manage it. It's required as part of the 401 water quality certification review by DEP to have a sediment management plan that is approved by them. So we're working through that process with them for their review. But the current proposed plan is what's known as partial in-stream management approach. So that looks like basically removing the sediment that is immediately behind the dam and kind of grading that out. But then anything upstream of there, just letting it naturally migrate downstream over time. And that's actually a good thing for the downstream areas. Downstream of dams typically becomes what's known as sediment starved, meaning that the rocks and cobbles there are very rocky and don't have a lot of little finer sediment in between them, which is important for habitat. So this will help restore that natural sediment transport flow regime. And lastly, because there are these big areas of water chestnut on the sides of the impoundment that are very mucky and have a lot of fine sediment, but luckily they're in these off of the main flow path, so we don't anticipate them to move downstream in any, extensive capacity. But to help keep them in place, let them stabilize in place and more slowly migrate through natural processes, we're proposing to put turbidity curtains along the edges of the water chestnut during construction. Again, hold that sediment back a little bit and the water chestnut as well, so that we're not getting a downstream migration of the invasive water chestnut. And just to wrap it up, there's a lot more information about the project online. I have 3 different sites here. I'm happy to share this with you or put it up at the end of, if you want to copy it on the website. But this is just a file transfer site that has all the documents on it. And there's also 2 project websites by project partners from ORS and Merrimack River Watershed Council. And they both have similar information, but laid out differently. I encourage you to take a look at them. They have lots of visuals and things to look at, and they both also have a way to sign up for updates through a newsletter. And lastly, I believe this is my last slide, a recap of the project timeline. As I mentioned, we started with a feasibility study in 2014. We've had a number of public meetings throughout feasibility analyses and conceptual design. We've had the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act review, which included multiple public hearings. And now we're in the permitting phase and targeting construction for next summer and fall of 2025. And after the project is completed, ecological restoration projects require a period of monitoring, post-construction monitoring for a period of 3 years, when we'll be monitoring things like how the fisheries respond, water quality changes, sediment transport, etc. Okay.
Thank you very much. Did anyone else that make it a presentation? You all set?
You wanna make a remark now, Bob?
Mine is without any slide presentations, I apologize for being a little late in here. The flight was delayed, but I cannot be today because to express with Florida, to express how important this is. My thought. Thank you. And I'm one of the managing partners of CRT, which currently owns the dam. You may ask, why do we own a dam? The reason why we own the dam is because when we sold the business, myself, and my partners, to a public company called Leggett and Platt, which is a Fortune 100 company, they decided they didn't want to have a liability. We never realized that they extracted that out of the closing statements. So for 27 years, I've lived with this liability. Families have lived with the expense of going through a number of tests through the state to make sure that the dam is safe and meets the conditions of the state of Massachusetts. And I was so impressed with the group that we've come to know. Seems like it's been longer than 10 years. But I'm so fortunate and pleased, and I think the community should be. They're as professional as Jill's presentation and all the work that she's put into this. They're an absolutely amazing group, very professional, with a proven track record. So,
Are you here to speak on any particular thing? I would say it's very nice to meet you, Mr. Mudd, but I want to keep this moving, so.
I'm only allowed 2 minutes or so I just want to introduce myself and thank you for your time. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity. The various slides prove that out today.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go through the commission with any concerns and questions, and then I'll open to the audience, okay? Everybody be patient for a minute. Do you have anything in particular that, other than moving on to the members or?
No, other than moving on to the activity. I mean, they did present informal presentation to the commission at an earlier date. And that's it.
Okay, very good. Something handled as a traditional intent, you know, as an ecological restoration, that's. Of course, I go. Diane, I imagine you have some questions.
I do, and some comments, and, you know, from my perspective, this is early in the project, but, I also want to get out there that, I'm looking at it as a conservation commissioner, and I have to look at it from, the State Wetlands Protection Act, and I also have to look at it from the local bylaw, which may be different than how I feel about it as a resident of the town of Billerica. So, you know, as an audience, you need to understand that, we have very specific jurisdiction, and it doesn't always extend to some of the things that we wish it would. I do have some questions for you, but, well, I'll start out with this one. Why is it a 75% design state at this point? The plans that we got say 75%, are they 100% or are they 75%?
They're 75%. We typically just leave it open for any comments that come in during permitting, so that we can address those comments and then finalize the design plan.
Okay, so it may be farther along than just 75. but
Yes,
For
yeah.
the purposes of it.
Yeah, I would call it more closer to a 90 on it, honestly, because we have made some changes since we first put out 75%.
Thank you. One of the things I think Isabel has mentioned to you is that we will require a peer review on this. And from my perspective, I'd like to see a wetlands peer review. I'd also like to see an engineering and stormwater peer review. This is fairly extensive and it's really beyond the wheelhouse of myself at least, and you know, I think most of the members. We need an independent consultant to take a look at this whole thing.
I just want to mention, I don't know if you're familiar with the peer reviews that have been done by the DPW on the study so far. So they have used their town consultant, Woodard and Curran, who then subcontracted with Streamworks, who is a similar type of firm to what we do, water resources and modeling. So they have peer reviewed all the modeling and those and the MIPA filings and things like that to date. So they might be able to easily tack on if you had specific questions on the NMI filing. But they have done an extensive review and it is available on the website.
Did they do the review for the historical? commission too, or?
I don't believe so. It was for the DPW. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So it's more tied into the wetland resources because it was specifically looking at the modeling.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, in terms of some, going through the NOI and stuff, talked about the purpose of the dam removal, this fish passage as well as flood storage, all that kind of stuff. For the fish passage, there are dams downstream from this, the fish have to get past before they can get up to the Talbot Dam, correct?
Yeah, there's two with fish ways, fish passage facilities, actually, at those dam sites.
Okay, so, in terms of that issue with the Talbot Dam, why can't we just do a fish ladder, a fish passage the
Yeah.
same way that they have?
So that's, covered in the alternative analysis, but essentially those are hydropower dams that are required to install and maintain and operate fish passage facilities, and it's very expensive, and you need daily operations of that, and it's just something that individual dam owners don't and can't do, as far as funding or funding sources for that. So, and also, it's not, it's just, without a fully staffed site like a hydropower dam, it just can't be properly maintained.
Well, in terms of the maintenance of the dam, has there been any dam maintenance in the last since, I don't know, the last 20 years, 27 years? I guess this is a question for Mr. Martin. Has there been any work done to the dam? in the last-
There has been engineering studies on the dam, and at this point, there's been very little work into the dam. There's been very little work needed to be done to the dam.
So at this point, it's in pretty good condition.
For its
Based
age.
on-
There's a dam safety rating, they give ratings when they do their inspection, I believe the rating is fair.
In terms of the cost then of the dam removal, who's paying for it?
There's various funding sources, state, federal, and probably some local, service, in-kind services as well, so, there's a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service grant. DVR, as I mentioned, restoration is the agency that's providing funding. There's a super funds, settlement in the watershed that provided funding for the project. Other funds.
So the dam owner isn't paying anything for it.
The dam owner is paying for certain services as well.
Okay, would the town be responsible for paying it?
No.
Impacts to resource areas. You mentioned that, the area you were looking at is basically from the Ford Race Bridge, bar
Mhm.
to the dam.
Yeah.
There's nothing, we don't have anything on the area above that. I know you said it's only inches of
Yeah, so we
water.
certainly, yeah, so sorry, we certainly looked at all that, but we're just not presenting that as impact area changes because there just aren't any lateral area changes to the resources upstream at that point.
In terms of the wetlands impacts, in one of your charts, you said that there was gonna be like a 400,000 plus increase in the wetlands area.
Mhm.
What about that big wetlands that's backed up from the impoundment area?
Yeah. So that,
What's gonna happen to that?
that is,
Yeah, that,
this one here, that's why I have that in a different color in the footnote here says, we don't know with certainty what will happen to this. This does appear to have other hydrologic inputs to it aside from just the backwater effect of the dam. So, the wetland scientist who conducted the delineation feels that in some way, to some extent, this will remain some bordering vegetated wetland here, but that's why I didn't categorize it as fully, definitely converting to BBW because it's not entirely clear. Similarly here, but there are definitely hydrologic inputs coming off of Roger Street. There's a culvert there as well.
is there any way we can make sure that that existing wetlands area remains a wetlands?
I don't know that, there's typically not any sort of mitigation involved with the ecological restoration projects because as I said, they are regulated to allow for loss or conversion of one resource to another.
Okay, but under the bylaw, that's not an exemption.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no exemption under the river wetlands bylaw for ecological restoration projects.
Right.
So in terms of mitigation restoration, we usually look at that and, this is significant. Um,
Yeah, and there's also a gain, as I said here, with the,
Right.
the gain there, but, yeah, I'm not sure how that's in the bylaw compared to ecological restoration at the state level. I'll have to look into that further.
Sorry, I have lots of notes. Um, Okay, one of the things that, well, and I'll use this area as an example, if that gets changed and it's not a wetlands, we lose jurisdiction over it. Who gains jurisdiction over it, who owns it, and this is true along the entire river, all the way through the entire town of Billerica. If we use floodplain, if we use wetlands, isolated pocket, whirlpool, whatever.
So this is actually, I believe, town land. I think the line is right behind these, parcels here. So that would still be protected as part of that town parcel of conservation land, which is, important there, because that's really the only place that would change as far as the buffer zone. Because I said, Edward, for this one would definitely remain BBW, so the buffer is staying there. As far as how the land ownership changes when, like, it was underwater and it becomes seawater, that depends on the individual deeds and how they're written. So some are written to the mean high water line, some are written to the spread of the channel. There's also a strip of a tax parcel. Yeah, you can see a little bit of it here, a 50-foot buffer strip of a tax parcel that is, owned by the Middlesex Canal Commission. So that would, be I believe that would be the new, landowner in that case. But as far as the others, it depends on the district.
Well, since you have that one up, the roadway that you're proposing to go in, to access the dam, that goes by the building that the Middlesex Canal has been working on, and they had come through us for a permit and everything, and I know they've spent a lot of money and time and energy to get that cleaned up, and that in fact needs to be looked at.
Yeah, definitely. The road is just shown conceptually here in a straight line. We definitely not going to be impacting that building in any way, so that we can get that a lot better. And we try to ability of that. In fact, we have that ability now for on all these retaining walls.
Invasive species management, we talked about the water chestnuts, and from what I remember in the report, it was basically the passive management. We might want to see more active management than just, seeing if they die, and since it's such a problem along the Concord, something to consider. You mentioned monitoring. Personally, I'd like to see more like a 5-year monitoring on a project this size, this extensive, something to take a look at. We might want to think about putting a bond on it to cover the cost long term, depending on who's controlling it and all that sort of stuff. Okay, and then there's the town water intake, and this is sort of going more to the residential side of sitting up on this board. As someone who lives in the town, the only water intake is what, 1.25 miles upstream from this, and in times of severe drought, I know the water is not that much above it. I think we want to take a look at, maybe 5 years of the water height there and see, unless you've already done that. And
Yeah, we did actually install a water level monitoring gauge at the water intake. We've been working with the DPW on that for a number of years, and we got that installed this year. So that's continuously monitoring water levels, pre-dam removal, and we'll do the same post-dam removal as well.
have you gone back and looked at the years when we had severe drought, like, I think it was 2 years ago? or 3
Yeah,
years ago?
we did do monitoring during that year, and we recorded water levels during that year.
Good.
And it supported our modeling. We used it, I'm trying to put another slide here, so. We used it to improve our hydraulic model. Can't do it backwards. I gotta block these things for a second. Yeah.
It's worth mentioning that the peer reviewed that study.
Yeah, they did mention that earlier. Yeah, so that was the peer review that I was talking about. they peer reviewed that as well with the route, levels and the model. Yeah. Here's the water supply slide. It shows during a drought. Well, because it doesn't have the animation, you can't see the tree. Yeah, you can't see the tree damage removal, level, but it's basically a 4-inch change during drought at the water intake, and you can see that there's still gonna be 5.8 feet above the intake elevation, even during a drought.
Well, is there any guarantee to the town that, should our water intake be affected? I mean, that's our only water source, so if we need to go to another source, can the state step in and pay for it?
If this project were to have a drastic impact on the on water levels, because of the project, absolutely, this project would stand behind mitigative measures to address that. I will say that the water, or the town only having one water supply is a problem in and of itself, unrelated to the project. And their own consultant concurred that the change to this project is not a significant impact.
I don't disagree that it's,
Yeah.
with that, but, be that as it may, right now, we only have one water source.
Yep.
And if that's impacted, if the town has to step in and pay to connect to the MWRA or on another water source, that's a big expense to the town.
Right.
So,
We've also been working with the DPW to help them find funding sources and apply for grants for that connection as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. I think I accept it.
Yeah.
The water stuff shows the outcome of the.
Yes, DEP, as part of their 401 water quality certification review, will be covering water supply. That's the transition. Yeah.
Yeah, like the first step by saying I was very excited about the project 10 years ago when we were talking about putting a fish line. But that would be a big plus for the community for recreational fishing. Since then, I've been very discouraged that we're going to be taking it down. And I can appreciate Mr. Martin's position, not being the liability of it. But a few things come up in my mind that certainly will impact removing the dam completely. First of all, the super fund over on Pond Street. From what I understand, according to what is your last presentation, is that back feeds back to the Concord River. Concord River doesn't fall out of it. So if that's the case, what are we doing to our neighbors downstream? Because once that river is dropped there, that backfill of pollutants from the super fund is going to come back down into the river.
So we studied that as well, and I think we've gone out and done more field studies, maybe since the last presentation when you had heard from us. And this has also been peer reviewed by the township consultant. We went out and surveyed the whole canal between the Iron Horse, I'm talking about the Iron Horse Park Superfund site, which is just over here, to the east of the project. And, this is a profile of the canal, and sorry, over here is the top of the Dam comment, and here's the median water level for the annually throughout the year, the average water level. And the first thing is the Roger Street culvert, which is, as you can see, much higher than the Perch culvert under most flows. And the flow was measured coming in this direction, but over here is the railroad, B&M Railroad, and it's a massive amount of fill. There's no current hydrologic culvert connection there, and flow was observed draining this direction from there on out. So that was identified as not being a concern. We presented all this to EPA, who's managing the Superfund site, and they concurred as well. They're not concerned.
I'll be training back.
No.
Next year, road you're going to construct in to remove the dam, that goes back out onto the main asphalt.
It would have a stabilized construction entrance that would take out.
Now, I may be wrong, but where is the sewer line running across there?
Across the river, you mean?
No, across where your road is going out to the main highway or main asphalt. I believe the sewer line runs above the
Oh, up on
bridge
the
there.
street,
So how are we going to work with that?
you're saying like a big sewer line along the street?
Correct.
Yeah.
We are, yeah, the far corner where that road is coming down up onto the asphalt. I believe the sewer line is running along in there.
Okay,
But
Yeah.
how is that going to be maintained? Because the sewer line comes above, it goes across the bridge, it does not run under the bridge.
this bridge here.
Yeah.
That won't be impacted by the project. That, the sewer line downstream of the dam on the bridge, that wouldn't be impacted. I'm sorry if I'm not.
Well, It's coming, not yet, coming down, so we
You're
are
saying
already
like
coming out
heavy-
onto the.
You're
onto
saying
the
heavy
road.
equipment. could
Correct,
damage
going
it
through
the
there,
road? Okay, that would be definitely assessed by the contractors and they know how to work on
Just
roadways.
make a note that it may be there.
Okay.
Be sure where it is before you
Thank you.
crush that.
Okay, thank you.
The water chestnut. They'll be removed. I assume you're gonna remove them.
They would be drained in place and they would die because they need water to
They
survive.
will not be removed from the place that they're in now.
No, they'll just die and become compost.
Well, that was one of my questions. I understand, people go out and they do a very nice job collecting the water chestnut.
They do,
Where do they get rid of them? Because I understand one facility refused to take. So what do they do? Right now, you have plans to put them over on Salem Road, I believe.
you know, where they dispose of what? Oh, go ahead, Mary.
You have to identify yourself, please.
My name is Marlies Henderson. I'm a resident of the Riverpath and I frequently help with water chestnut removal in collaboration with Isabel, your director. And when we remove them in an area below the dam, we have an agreement that as long as we bring it out of the floodplain and we pile it up and then it composts. So I do that together with Isabel.
Just left there.
And yeah, it is compost and you have first you have a massive pile and a week later. It goes real fast. It's mostly water.
All right, I guess with the tremendous expenses we're going to be, could that money possibly be diverted maybe to the Army Corps of Engineers and have the dam repaired
No,
and have it donated to the state?
these funding sources are for ecological restoration only. They're not doing for repair. There are sources of funding for dams. I have seen other dams getting funding for, but that is typically for dams that are considered high hazard. That are very dangerous dams. So those are the ones that it
This is low or it's moderate. Why not fix the ones that are fixable?
I mean, if somebody wanted to own a dam, but it's up to the individual dam owner and there's funding for this type of ecological restoration. There's not funding for repairing a dam. Repairing this dam would also be a $1 million project.
Jody, you want to super chime in there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joseph Gould, member for Fish and Game. I'm in the dam removal program for the state of Massachusetts. We don't repair dams like this, just so you know, and the state's not taking dams like this. Also, we're providing funding for this, and our funding would go for something like that. Just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Christine? Well, dams are unstored treasures of the towns and cities, and usually they cherish and appreciate this historic, landmark. How would you be dealing with the communities, loss? So get depressed.
Yeah, the project is required to go through what's called section 106 consultation for historic resources. And that's already underway and that's a separate process that we are addressing those comments and mitigation through that process.
Thank you. Yeah. Is that it, Christine? Yeah, then, I can't see you, Jeff, but you, oh, there you go, Jeff.
Diane pretty much covered everything. I understand Mr. Martin wanting to drop the hot potato. Without a doubt. This Fordway shelf, as you say, is how much lower?
1.4 feet.
So essentially, upstream is gonna drop 2 feet or 1.5 feet.
No, it actually,
Not the
yeah.
other shelf up there.
no, it's just hydraulics, that shelf creates a hydraulic, impact that extends upstream and it translates into a different water level than the actual channel bottom elevation. So it's not going to drop to the channel bottom elevation. The channel bottom elevation is reported as the lowest point in one tiny point of the channel. But a channel is, you know, has lots of bumps and ups and downs across it. So,
Right, unlike a dam that's straight across that moves up to seventh level.
right, so you can't fit all the water of the river in that tiny lowest point. So it's gonna spread out across that channel cross section and which determines the upstream water level, which is approximated by modeling.
I just think this whole thing goes back to, we're gonna lose it at the water intake. And the residents of Massillville, Billerica are gonna be paying the MWRA. I think that's the whole key to this whole thing. So that's all I have to say.
So that has been peer reviewed by the tax consultant and they did not have that finding. They found that there would be no significant.
We'll see in a few years.
There's also other towns that have
I
removed.
hope I'm wrong.
There's also other towns that have removed dams downstream of water supply, water withdrawals. There's one in Exeter, New Hampshire. Eric was involved with, you can speak much if you're interested. Not too far if you wanted to visit it and see the site. It's been fully restored and they have had no impact to their water supply.
You will not navigate a boat from the Fordway Bridge upstream after this is done. It'll be near impossible.
From the College Street Bridge, so, oh yeah, definitely. It'll still be flat water upstream of that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
It'll still be.
I've been on a boat in that river since I was a kid. And you gotta be pretty damn knowledgeable to be able to
Oh,
navigate.
sure, yeah, you still have to
It's
navigate
not
around
gonna
it.
be-
It's not gonna change.
it's not gonna be passable. I don't think.
Yeah, it would only drop a couple inches.
And you're with the
Summer
state,
flow.
correct, sir? Are you, do you have anything to do with the boat launch that they're gonna put in that's gonna be useless once this is done, or?
That's a different agency within the state, but that's not my agency.
That's the Office of Official Voting,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not Pennsylvania Department of Fish and Game.
One of our divisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just very.
I think the OFDA is pause to that project.
Yeah.
Last time I talked to them, they were not pursuing that.
So-
Oh, it makes sense to pause it because.
Yeah. It's just to answer your question, that's opposite. So we're part of Fish and Game. Me and him, we're each a division within Fish and Game. That's another division within that. And they paused that project. Yeah. It's also not a great place for a boat launch for a variety of different reasons. So we can get into a different time, but not with pertinent to an ecological restoration project. But I'm happy to talk about that if you want to.
Oh, good, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. I think the other members have covered most of my notes too, but let me say, Diane made a point on the access road alternative one. And I know you're saying you're not going to touch or do any impact to the actual museum. But I think what, Diane's saying, the way you're drawing this is that, part of the mitigation work that the Middlesex Canal Association did was all restoration in that area.
Yeah,
Which they,
along this slope here.
along the bank.
Yep.
And to the back of the parking lot.
Oh, this guy too?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
have those details, but yeah, we can certainly reroute that. too.
Yeah, because they pay quite a bit, they've got it monitored, and still being monitored, so,
And anything that's disturbed, the pavement or any, land areas that are disturbed would be fully restored as part of this.
do you reimburse them for what you've damaged and have to do over again?
They would this project would do that restoration and monitoring as part of, like anything that's
Yeah,
disturbed.
it's like double doing it, so, I mean, you have an alternative too, and why you don't believe that's.
It's still an alternative as well. We just, like I said, we just wanted to permit for the maximum possible impact to leave that over to the contractor.
I can't guarantee as one member that I would condition that. So, I mean, it's going to go to, as we've said, peer review for wetlands and also engineering, staging, construction, oversight of construction, stuff like that. So we'll want to review, there might be more thought given into the access.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, and we can reroute that around the work that's been completed and.
Lift up that access.
16 feet probably. It'll allow for articulating. To come in.
Yeah, that's another question.
uh,
Could we possibly reroute the road going in to the other side of the river to the parking lot side?
that was another alternative.
That's presented in the plans as alternative two. Yeah. So coming in from this side and down along with the abutment.
Yeah, I think that would probably be our preferred, that would be our preferred one anyhow.
Either way they do that roadway is gonna be relatively non-invasive, because they put it in as they go out and they take it out as they leave.
Yeah, but my point is, Jeff, is that the Middlesex Canal Association has paid for that remedial work. Now they're going to have to go back and do it, and granted, we understand that they would have to do remedial work, but it doesn't seem.
No, I
You don't
understand.
have to go that way, I wouldn't go that way, it's, you know, but anyhow, okay, now you're saying that upstream of the Fordway Bridge or the Pollard Street Bridge, it's very little elevation change. And then from there on up to the end of the Concord River. The same.
Yeah, just get
So there'll be no need for FEMA to come in and have to do any calculations from going upstream.
This project would need a letter of map revision eventually, once it's completed. to
It's just
change-
this area.
No, it would extend, it would, the change in the FEMA maps would go as far as the impact goes.
So how far does the impact go?
So that, for FEMA, they would count anything that's like a tenth of a foot, like a tiny amount change. So I'll have to look up that would go the entire way of the Concord as far as the elevation change.
Right.
But the floodplain extent would not visibly change. They wouldn't be perceptible on the maps that you use to determine the floodplain. The change, that tiny height change does not equate to feet of.
Unless it's flat and then it goes out more lateral than it
Yeah.
has been, so. Now, I mean, we're talking about this, but as commission members, and I think Diane talked about a little bit, I could go, I've talked about it. I mean, that's valuable resource area for us and it's being protected, the riverfront, floodplain, land under water, all these things.
So
And what is that going to mean for us? Is it going to open up properties now that
No,
much change?
nothing will change laterally upstream of this point. We've mapped the floodplain of the green line here, in here, existing and proposed. And I cut them off here because they didn't change any further upstream of this point. So I can,
Why would Peter have to do the whole?
because of the elevation change, even though there's no lateral change, they still have to report if there's an elevation change, because if people are in the floodplain and they want to build a structure, depends on if they can or not, but under certain locations and regulations, I think, you know, you can build your base, if your house and your base, floor is above, yeah, exactly. So that's why the elevation matters.
All right, this seems like
But the
a
mapping and the buffers and the delineations would not change that.
And who pays for that?
The letter of map revision, the project would.
Okay, good. And a couple of things now, keep that map up there, that's what I wanted you to go to anyhow. Your chart, and I you can get something. Let me do this. Is it section 7 chart? Or
This impact.
yeah, impact, oh, there they are, right
Yeah.
there, but you don't have the whole chart that you gave us. Right,
That one I think did existing.
all right, here we go.
Change.
It's on page 712 of the narrative. Particularly bordering vegetative wetland in this area, go back to the previous one, yeah, this one. So they're saying that existing is 411,414 square feet, right, of DBW.
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah.
And now you're saying when this is done, it's gonna be 846,349 square feet of DBW. You know, a gain of 434,935. I don't see that. If this is disappearing.
No, that's including this because of the other hydroelectric.
All right, so you can make that real clear.
Okay, so we can make that.
Maybe, yeah,
clear
instead of just
first,
having
yeah.
that just dark and nothing there, maybe you should have some sort of labeling that is existing and you presume it to stay, but how are you doing?
Yeah, that's what's labeled here, but I can make that one clear.
Yeah, that wasn't clear to me when I was looking at it. So, yeah, so are you expecting any of that to turn to upland?
No, not currently based on the information we have available to us.
The whole length of it?
Yeah, based on the information that we have from our.
Okay, I read through this. That is a cleaning, we need some more information on that. and particularly, I guess it is going to be, wetland scientists.
Yeah.
I mean, look at whoever is wetland scientist that will, we have to put out, but,
Yeah.
obviously, but we put our input in where we want information, and the
Yeah,
person very well ask how that is working,
Yeah.
so.
but we don't know exactly how this will change, which is why I presented it as kind of a gray area here, but I can make that more clear in the application. I mean, if you want us to revise the numbers, we can revise the numbers to reflect that conservatively. But it's just.
Well, I want it to be what, well, I know
Our
a
best
lot,
educated.
I mean, as reading this, some of your words are anticipated, presume, expect, no, which is not typically something we get in a design, we design is, this will happen, this will happen. So this one's kind of fluctuating, and it's kind of a guesstimate to some of it, which is not really how I like to deal with things, but, you know, I think one of the things that we might ask the wetland scientists is to look at this, confer with you, obviously. But if there's a way to really get another hydrological connection, make sure you can somehow you. Going from now, we've changed the bid that back. I think that may be something we'd be looking for, so that we can have more of assurance that in fact will stay.
Okay.
A wetland.
Again, I'll have to look into. Is Joe still here? Were you here when she asked the question earlier about, so we talked about how ecological restoration projects allow for lots or conversion, and we weren't sure how the bylaw, like, they said that's not allowed by the bylaw.
I don't know the bylaw that
Okay.
well, but I will tell you that, yeah, under a normal ecological restoration order condition, this is permitted, you know, so I just don't know your guys' bylaw, you have to speak to that, we'd have to look at that.
Now, did you say your name for the record to be here?
I did, it's Joseph Gould, I work for Mass Fishing Game, I'm in the dam removal program.
This is on a recording, so every time another voice comes, we have to have it. So-
No worries.
Okay, then. All right, this is gonna be something that I believe we want peer review to look at. And we're, it doesn't matter to us the size of the project, right, but when it comes time for loss of resource areas, it's just not something that we should accept. Basically, we wanted to, you know, have the best mitigation that we can get, so, I really would want to put that.
Sorry, one more thing I will say, the reason why it is allowed under the, again, Joseph Gould, allowed underneath the law is because in the regulations, because basically, how these projects are thought is that unlike, you know, with a construction project that's impacting wetlands and something like that, this project is actually restoring a stream, that's what she was talking about, ecological restoration, and it's reverting it back to what it once was. And it's actually, you know, converting resources areas, you know, BVW, land underwater, those things are transitioning, stuff like that, but it's a ecological beneficial project. That's why the law allows for those things. Just to want to make sure I state that clearly, and that's really the intention of that. Unlike where you have a development that's just maybe
No, I-
going in and
I
doing
think
something
we know
damage to
what
wetlands.
you're saying.
Mhm.
But this has been in this condition for, this isn't something, for over 200 years.
Yeah.
I mean, so people are living in these areas, they're, you know, so it isn't just something new, it's like you're really impacting people's lives too, so.
I
That's why,
understand.
and although there are, I see what you're saying on the benefits, but I also see some downside, and I just want to see what we can do to get the best mitigation, the highest and best. It's something we ask for everyone.
I totally understand. I just wanted to point out the simple fact is that the reason why the law is that way is because, you know, they don't require mitigation because of the types of project, but I totally
Well, they
understand.
don't require, but we're asking you to look. at
Understood,
their-
understood. Yeah.
their Mitigation. But I'm gonna go with the audience, but I think some of this has been brought out. I think on the invasive species, Diane brought that up, the management plan. That may be typical, but it's very weak from what we're used to having. So we'd like to see something more aggressive. I think that's something we should ask the peer review to look at something more.
The water chestnut specifically, or?
Well, I think, I know you said, that, you know, this, I didn't realize there was a difficulty in disposing of water chestnut. Because I would have liked to see you do some sort of dredging in that area and get rid of a lot of it instead of just laying down. But, you know, that,
Yeah, Eric, or I'll say.
your name?
Eric Hutchins with the NOAA Restoration Center. One thing I've worked on maybe close to 50 dam removals throughout New England. It's the question that's come up with every single conservation commission and state and federal permitting over the years, past 25 years. And unquestionably, what we're finding over and over again, and through studies and soil samples, without having to do it everywhere, is the soils are absolutely filled, even with 300-year-old dams, with viable seed source of the native plants that actually deposited over the years. We've got multiple sites where the site dewaters and the emergent vegetation such as water chestnut simply doesn't live in that habitat anymore. It literally shrivels up and just dies broad scale, and the natives come up through it. It's actually a beautiful opportunity for the natives to come up through. So it could be removed, but that actually, in the end, would probably be a very significant wetland impact, having machinery digging in to remove it with almost certainly a net loss in functional value of your site versus beautiful soils that have accumulated in that area, and with the ability for the native plants to actually grow right up through them on a plane that already exists. We've seen it over and over and over again, which is
Yeah.
a very nice
How many growing seasons are we talking for your stores itself?
one.
One?
And when I say one, it's not mature, but it's amazing. And if the dam comes out in the fall, by next summer, you've got native plants coming up left and right. And multiple sites we've seen this. It's,
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, we need some documentation
Yeah,
for
we
that
have,
for our.
we have peer-reviewed studies we could share with you.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
That sounds great,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
We're not experts.
It's one of the few things I believe in this whole thing.
Yeah.
I was just thinking we would put that aside. Right, what you had given us before, I mean, this is.
We try to divide you up. I have a whole document of peer-reviewed studies specific to each wetland resource
Yeah.
area that I could share with you. if you're
It- it-
interested.
Maybe we're just gluttons for punishment, but. We like this.
Jill, can I?
Yeah.
Eric Hutchins again, we came in here today expecting lots of questions as we're getting. Did not want to inundate, but we will by all means answer the questions, find the studies you want. And the assumption is your peer review will be coordinating with us directly, saying,
Exactly.
I need
Yes,
this.
that's right.
And the body of knowledge out there is too much to dump on you without knowing really what your questions are when it gets into the biology that you're asking.
Right, I'm sure the peer review will do this, so, I had a few more other things, but I think that we kind of get the gist of where we're coming from, so. I think what I'll do now is I'm going to go to the comments, now we're gonna ask you questions.
So how many peer reviews done so far, like what agencies, like
For this project or for other projects?
for this project and what others?
So the DPW commissioned two separate studies, yeah. One was for, the initial feasibility study, actually three, I think. One was for the initial feasibility study in 2016, that came out in 2016. One was for what we call the targeted impact analysis that looked at water supply and other impacts, in 2021. And the other was for the NEPA ENF, Environmental Notifications Form filing.
And Joe, those are all in those.
Those are all on the website, yep, and we can give you direct links.
Jill, since you asked that question, it's worth Eric Hutchins. We actually had the DPW's peer review the scope of work, not just the report. We
Yeah.
actually had them develop the questions that they wanted answered. We didn't just throw something at them. We said, here's our draft scope. Would you like to add anything to it? To answer any questions you have, and then added to the scope what they wanted. And on some of our side, and then they did their own independent review.
And this is the one that's done in 2016? I know, recent.
There were several. The one that they collaborated on the scope was the one that was done in 2021. The targeted impact analysis. And if you go to this file transfer site, which I'll send the link to you guys directly, Isabel has it, but it says right here, independent reviews commissioned by them.
All right, Christine?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna open up to the audience. I'm going to go row by row. You're going to have the most 2 minutes, so ask your questions, make your comments, and try not to be repetitive or redundant. Questions been asked. Let's move on. So you two had it on. If you could identify yourself and then ask the question.
Yeah, my name is Fred Liberatore. I've lived in town 48 years. Our water system has never failed us. That dam is an integral part of our water system. Turns the Concord River into a reservoir. It's a fail-safe backup, if you will. And I think until now, it's been unrecognized and unappreciated. I've seen 7,000 cubic feet of water a second go over that dam. It serves as its own spillway. So I don't see that dam being washed out by a flood. It's there. It's been there 200 years. I can't see removal of that dam unless we have an emergency MDC connection ready to go. Open the valve and the MDC water flows. If we don't have that, I'm unalterably opposed to removing that dam, because without water, the town is screwed. And I don't believe it's worth taking even this much risk. As soon as we have that MDC connection, take out the dam. Oh, and I believe we should buy it from Mr. Market.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go across here. This girl, raise your hand. Okay. Identify yourself, please.
My name is Marlies Henderson, 2 minutes, 31 Stray Street. I live a 10-minute walk from the Mills Historic District. I wear many hats. So this evening it matters that I am the chairperson for the Suezco Partnership Wildland Scenic River Stewardship Council, for which I represent the RICA as appointed in 2017. Thank you. I believe in open space preservation through awareness programs. I guide local walks and local paddles. You can find me on the Concord River a lot, not just in my childhood. We need urban wilderness for our physical and mental health. Today, I stand here before you in support of the restoration of the Concord River. I am convinced that this project will convert the mill pond into wetlands. A resource exchange, one resource becomes the other resource, still in your jurisdiction. Based on the grade of the river between the Fordway Bridge, Pollard Street, and the mills, and how you paddle it, dam removal will significantly change the landscape there. And only there, that half-mile stretch. I'm convinced because my personal experience paddling, it's the only place where you can sense the current. And also based on studies done by Gomez and Sullivan, studies done by the town of Woodard and Curran, and by Streamflow. The proposed partial dam removal will improve water quality. It will improve ecology, and it will restore 3 rapids between the Fordway Bridge and the mills. We'll have a map for you. The only other section in the Concord River with rapids with the same kind of grade that's in Lowell. The rest is a string of lakes that are sort of interconnected and sluggish flow. You can easily paddle one way or the other. You don't feel the flow. You really feel it between the Fordway and the mills. And that's where you're gonna find the change. Today is just an introductory session with a peer review, of course, yet to follow. One thing I would like to point out for everybody. I hope that the Historic District Committee will pursue historic mitigation, which might add permanent impact to the presented project. So that's why I'm happy that you have 75% design. I also would like to ask that you urge the engineers to minimize navigational hazards in the river. I understand that rock placements to help the fish migration that takes precedent, but before they can also engineer a kayak-friendly passage as well. Engineers recently removed 2 dams in Andover and the Shawshing River,
Okay,
which makes paddling more dangerous. I hope they avoid that here. I'm in favor of removing the dam. When we work with Mother Nature, she will work with us. Free the river. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marlies. Yes, go ahead.
My name is Andrew Jennings. I live at 29 Talbot Avenue, a short walk from the dam which is being discussed tonight. I'm a retired transportation consultant. In my retirement days, I've become a public and active transportation advocate. I'm concerned that the notice of intent is incomplete. If the dam is removed, I expect to see historical mitigation. And we should know what impacts on the watershed that historical mitigation might take. I believe that everyone in this room is aware that the Middlesex Canal was the engineering wonder of its day. It's not only on the National Register of Historic Places, but 1967, it was designated by the American Society of Civil Engineers as a civil engineering landmark. It was one of the first 4 such landmarks designated. The current dam was built as a summit pond, which is almost unique in New England. There are many mill ponds, but this is a summit pond and a key feature of the canal and its operation that is pretty unique. Clearly, a roadside marker will not do as the historic mitigation. And many improvements in the area around the dam as a park, perhaps bridges in a shared use path bridge, perhaps where the floating towpath with, perhaps over dam might be more appropriate mitigations, which might have wetland impact. Thus, I believe the application is incomplete and should be the historic mitigation should be included as part of what you look at. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Justin Damon. I live at 439 Middlesex Turnpike B. I have a quick question about the peer reviews that the commission is asking about. The information that they're looking for in a new peer review, how much of that information is covered in previous peer reviews?
Well, the wetland delineation would not be covered, which is one of the things as far as the resource changes, the hydrologic impact and that sort of thing are covered. We can look at that.
Do you know how much, do you know if this new review will push back the project any further? Will there need to be more time?
I would have to see, I don't know how your process works, do you, you have to procure an engineer and how long that takes, so we already have to look.
It's part of our normal practices to have peer review, especially on something like this, as complicated as this. And it depends on the information that is reviewed, built, if you need more information or in a discussion among their wetland scientists, their engineers and ours, it can go back and forth. It depends on how quickly the information is exchanged and returned. So it shouldn't hold it up at any great length of time, but you know, it's not the same as closing tonight and moving on. This is the step we're going to take.
Okay. So let's say, for instance, that this commission doesn't endorse the dam removal project. How would that impact the overall project?
We would need wetlands protection order conditions to do this project, so we would need to, you know, continue to work with the commission to come up with a solution.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say something about the historical aspect of this dam. There's no doubt about it that it's historical and that it was an incredible engineering feat of its time. However, I do believe that a free-flowing river, which it was for millennia, is far more significantly historical than this dam, which frankly was useful for the blink of an eye in the grand scheme of things. Thank you.
All right, vote, start over here again. Anyone want to speak?
My name is Alyssa Brown. I live at 5 Concord Green in Concord, Mass.
Could you stand up, please, so we can all hear you?
Alyssa Brown, 5 Concord Green, Concord, Mass. I'm a former chair of the Concord Conservation Department, former conservation agent for the town of Dedham, and I'm currently river ambassador for the Wild and Scenic River Stewardship Council. The federally designated wild and scenic portion of this river starts just up gradient, about 3 miles up gradient of the dam. extends up further upstream through Billerica for another 29 miles of free flowing river until you get to another dam. So if this dam were to be removed, we would be extending over 30 miles of river that would now have fish access, the way it did for millennium. When you look at the historical record, there are many indigenous encampments along the rivers, many weirs that were set up by the indigenous folks. And that's actually the reason a lot of the settlers came to this area and were successful in their first years here. They took over the fish weirs and they lived on the fish that were so multiple in the river. So the wild and scenic designation, which is a federal designation that provides funds for community projects along the river, is all in favor of free flowing rivers, and particularly this river. And we really support this project, removal of the dam as an opportunity to bring fish and the natural system back to this area.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else in that row and everyone identify something?
Tom Lincoln, 27 Gleason Street in Sunny Bedford. I'm the chair of the Middlesex Canal Commission. Try not to repeat things here. The Middlesex Canal is one of the most important historical sites north of Boston. It's been part of Billerica's history for well over 2 centuries. The Talbot Mill and the dam site and the adjacent open space comprise one of the true jewels of your community, from what I can see. Removal of the dam would destroy all this, devalue Billerica's considerable investment in the Middlesex Canal Museum, and possibly achieve only a portion of the purported ecological and recreational benefits. I want to make absolutely clear, given the tenor of the meeting, we have nothing against fish or kayaks. What we have are 2 objections here. One is a process objection. The section 106 consulting process is at the end. It is, as Mr. Hutchins said in an email to me just this morning, find it. With a little luck, we'll have some meaningful process. I think we have progress with design and permitting soon, so that we have a final design to review for section 106. Once the design details are better defined through the local, state, and federal permitting process, I'll be back to touch with section 106 consulting. This tells us, frankly, that the section 106 process will not be completed until this project is completed. It's already been completely vetted. It is on the greased rails to implementation. This hardly seems fair or logical, given the situation here. And it tells us that historical preservation is not, frankly, really a concern of the project proponents. And here's the other thing. And Mr. Green will talk more about this. There's a simple and logical alternative to destroying the dam with a number of unknown consequences, a number of which have been raised here this evening.
So you got
Okay, I know, everybody's talked. This is to provide a modern fish ladder, fish way. The Canal Association has taken the lead in explaining how this will work, but neither they nor we have received any feedback from the proponents other than, quote, it is not possible and we know best and it's too expensive, just as we heard this evening. We don't think that's an adequate response, given the fact, for example, that the Middlesex Canal Museum was started before the finding that I have to start before the process. There's a compromise right in front of everybody here, and it's being ignored.
Thank you very much. Keep your notes and you can make a comment at the very end.
Only at your discretion, if you want to answer questions about the passage.
My name is Jay Green. I'm president of the Middlesex Canal Association. The realty company which owns the dam has applied for permission to drain the summit pond and remove the dam. The applicant asserts the opinion that removing the dam will benefit migratory fish. Last year, 6,000 herring passed the Lawrence Dam. It has been as high as almost 500,000 herring, but last year, just 6,000 Herring Pass. Okay, going up the river to the Talbot Dam, the first dam you pass is the Centennial Dam. Next, you come to the Talbot Dam. A passage rate of 70% over these two obstacles, the Centennial and the Talbot, reduce the number of fish to 3,000. If you remove the dam, the map for 1700, Bill Ricker in 1700 shows that the dam had submerged 3 falls. So the fish would have to go up past the 3 falls and the Broadway. The amount of fish based on 3,000, 4,000 signing up at the, anyway, 3,000 would have passed with the dam in place. Once you remove the dam, only 1,000 fish would pass. So you're 3 times more effective keeping the dam. Just because the 3 falls in the river and the Fordway bar expose wear out the fish and expose them to predation. If the dam is removed, the 3 ancient falls in the Fordway shown on the map of the Bill Licker 1700 emerge as obstacles. In point of fact, the Fordway bar will be so shallow that it's a killing field for the fish. The cormorants and seagulls will have a feast day. Anyway, the dam is better for the fish. That's my opinion. The realty company has a different opinion. Second item. The realty company offers as its opinion that recreation would be improved, that they'll be able to shoot the rapids at the 3 falls when they emerge, when the dam is, when the summit pond is drained. In point of fact, recreation will be better with the dam when it is renovated, because then Zoom voting down in Lowell can run there, shoot the rapids all year by scheduling flows from the impoundment upstream of the dam, the Talbot Dam. The recreation, the shooting of the rapids would be better, could be done by schedule by opening the Talbot Dam. Okay,
Okay, 1 more minute, Spring.
1 more minute, okay. The realty company proposes the destruction by removing 30 feet of the dam. Why the company doesn't use the existing 3 by 4 feet waste outlets? Just open those up. They don't have to spend their millions on the alternate 1 and alternate 2 and the roadway up the river. They can just open the lower outlets and let the summit pond drain through. That's how the mill owners did it. When they had to work on their gates, they would open the lower outlets. That's what should be done here, considered here. Anyway, the association requests that conservation require a peer review. I suggest that James White, a professional here with Streamworks, be hired. He recommended that the passage of the fish be verified before you take on this project, because he could see even then that the fish were not going to have the velocities in the river will be too fast for some of the fish. Okay.
Thank you very much. Can I respond to anything? If you can hold on, I'd like to make a whole, on your next.
Just for your clarification, though, that is the individual who did appear with me previously.
3 months. Yeah, I'd like to.
My name is Wayne Smith. I'm a resident, 6 Cabot Street, over there. It's been almost 7 years. We're proposing for keeping it in. I can understand Mr. Martin's liability with all the expenses involved, right?
we should really take a look at what we need to do to keep it. I've been here 47 years, I haven't seen any repairs of the dam at all. It's really well constructed, it's got some backup, it's stood up for years and years and years. But having said all that, there's a lot of comments about NWRA. We live in an ever-changing environment. A lot of high-density housings are still being built, demanding more and more water all the time. I'm really against dropping the water level, right? Even 4 inches or whatever it is, because at some time in the future, we may have to hook to the NWRA. I don't know if you ever talked to anybody who, to the NWRA, they pay thousands of dollars, all right? Not the town, individual residents have to pay this. I like to avoid that in all cases and protect the input of the water, the drinking water of Bill Ricker. Many towns, they take the water on, they put the wastewater in, they take the water on, they put it in. A lot of towns depend on that river. Not only in Bill Ricker, many towns are the same boat. I was gonna mention the Middlesex Canal. A lot of talkers have already talked about the Middlesex Canal. Maybe someday you wanna restore the Middlesex Canal. It's a good historical project. I don't wanna destroy that. This would kind of put that on a shelf if we get a candidate. So I would say, and I wanna commend the board. Very good question. Thank you.
Mr. Ray. Okay, so then I'll.
Oh.
Okay, I'll continue.
Thank you. Dana Merritt, 24 Wilson Street. I've been here 48 years. And I had some questions. First of all, I think I talked to Jill on Friday. Could you bring up that map on the difference between pre and post dam that you had showed her? Okay, that's perfect. Now, we haven't talked at all about downstream from the Pollard. I'm downstream. I'm very close to the dam. Towards the dam even more, right there. So my question, first of all, how you went through it quickly. You had a slide that I'd love to see between the Fordham or the Pollard Street Bridge, which we're all familiar with, and down my way. That's going to go significantly so that my backyard that I've known for almost 50 years is going to change drastically, no doubt about that. So what is done as far as if we need mitigation as homeowners on that side? There's been very little talk about that. And then the second thing, going analytically to your point about water in this gentleman here. You said that you had inspected the Fordham, called the Fordham.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And what equipment did you use on it? How far down did you go? How stable is that? I know that you went through silt or whatnot. And is it bedrock? What exactly is it? Does it have any chance of failure? What are the banks around it like? Because water finds a way. We all know that water finds a way. So is there any chance that over a period of time that the pressure, the hydraulic pressure from the Concord River could start to go around it? You know, I don't know how the banks are set up, things of that nature. And last but not least, we talked about removing the dam, but making sure that right by where Faulkner Street comes across above the dam to keep the structure, because that keeps the street, you know, stable.
Yeah.
Has there been any study, you know, with engineering that water has a tendency, once it's captured, okay, you know, it'll sort of stay where it is. And the thing is, you know, because of different pressures or whatnot, what would happen is if you take that dam down and the soil underneath it started to erode and started to create a problem with the roadway, the sewer, anything like that. And I'm not talking 3 years or 5 years, I'm talking 10 years or 20 years. Now the dam's down, now we have the natural flow. What happens at that point when you start to get degraded roadways? Is it up to the town to take care of it? Because you guys are out by then. Then no one's gonna give a 50 or $100 million bond indefinitely to take care of this. So there's a lot of different moving parts that I'm trying to look at this analytically,
Right.
you know, and as a homeowner as well.
All right. Public safety.
We can,
I've heard too much of, I don't think, I assume, I, I believe, that's not black and white. Gray area is tough to deal with.
All right, we've got all your questions, they're good questions. I would also just say to the audience that if you have a particular question such as yours, that are relative to wetland and conservation issues, historically, we can't get into it, the Middlesex Dam, the Middlesex Canal, so. But your questions, you can always submit them to the commission.
And I got the certified letter, and I seen.
No, I don't mean now, I mean, it's after this.
After, yes,
Right,
exactly.
because this will be going out for peer review, and those are concerns, obviously, that, we can pass those on and have them addressed, because I don't know if this, I want.
Yeah, and I don't want to take up
Right.
any more
We
time,
don't
but
need to-
I talked to Jill on Friday,
Right.
and I talked to my abutters,
Yeah.
including ones that look like you'll be on their land if they let you. The biggest thing is that they have concerns as well because of the fact of, it's gonna drastically change downstream.
I would
We-
suggest that you send some information to the commission, the office of the commission,
Sure.
because those could go out, rather than spend time to go out.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you very much.
Are what ifs, so we have.
Yeah,
have that
I like concrete,
We do too.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna, the third row, any questions? Raise your hand so I can see you. Hi. Oh, yeah.
Good evening. The name Ed Bumper,
Hello, Ed.
BUNKER. Only one thing I want to know. If this is a hit, and everybody loves it, who's gonna be responsible? I'll sign for myself liking it. But I wanna know who, because I live downstream. And if you take this water away from my front, and I got a house right now, it's probably $700 million worth, and you destroy the waterfront, I'm not gonna be a happy camper. And all this guessing, we like, maybe, I don't wanna hear about that. You remember a while back, fast? They were gonna put 7 generators across the river where the dumping or where the junkyards are. 7 of them. I went to court with our group. We went with people that really knew what they were talking about. They aren't up today. They said you won't hear them, you won't see them, and you won't smell them. That's what the lawyers said. They were wrong, and they never made it into the record.
Right.
I hope they don't make it. Because you wanna know why? We have a sewer pipe right on the other side of the river there. Is that gonna be high enough or low enough? How's that gonna affect us? How about the water? And what about this? In the back, my backyard, when I had the surveyors there, it's 38 feet to the Merrimack River. 38 feet. All these fish they're talking about go up 38 feet. You know that the only whitewater rapids in Massachusetts are in the Concord River, right below me. Now, if these fish are making it, they couldn't put a nice little thing for them to get up and walk the river and not put us in peril. I think we should really think about that. Because I'll tell you, how do I get on a list so I can get all the information that you people are getting? I pay my taxes, I want to know.
This is all public information.
No, it's public. You don't have stamps, you couldn't, if I want to get on a list, they should be, everybody in Berlin should be getting a copy of that. And let them know that if they mess up, or as they're saying, if we lose our water, what the heck do we do then? Who do we turn to? Go back to the original question. Find out, do we sue these people? Absolutely. Absolutely. Sue anybody that puts their hand on our dam. And again, if they don't like it, then don't go by the river. Go somewhere else.
All right.
But we have responsibilities, and I'm speaking up to mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Carlos Morenico. I am on a border to the ConCom River. And I have a question about the normally get flooded every year. And last year I was flooded summer, fall and winter, all around the street. And the way I see the river normally, when it's a big rainstorm, it comes up over a period of days, flattens out, and then it goes down, right? And it goes back to normal level, and if it's flooded, it goes back to the flood level that it's at. However, if there is a significant rainfall before the river has gone down, that accumulates over. And now the level of the flood is up maybe another foot. And then if there is another significant rainstorm before the river has returned to its level, now you got another foot or two, whatever, you know. In my property, I have water in my house, this house. Okay, I live in
What's the
between, I live between Route 4 and Route 3. And so my feeling is that with the dam removal, the river will flow faster, which will allow for the flood to go down faster. And then the accumulation of successive large rainstorms won't be so significant. I mean, I still be flooded, and I understand that, but it won't be the catastrophic floods that we have, and I cannot afford flood insurance. It's over $10,000 a year, so I don't have flood insurance. So if I have a big flood, I have to pay out of my pocket, you know, 50, 60, 70, 100, $200,000, right? But
Are you saying you're in favor of removal of the dam?
yes, I'm 100%, and I will do that. I would like it to be done yesterday. Anyway, will the dam removal alleviate that flood concern of mine?
It will reduce up to flooding. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me next week.
Excuse me, can
Thank
you
you.
give us your address?
It's 6 Colby Street. 6 Colby Street. Yeah.
Thank you. The rest of that row? Any- Anyone else in the rest of that row? Okay, then I'm gonna go to it behind it. Okay, raise your hand and just introduce yourself.
Debbie Oja, 146 High Street, not gonna work out. My main concern is the town people, if this doesn't work out and we have no water, we have no plan B, nobody to go back to, where nobody in town will have water, what are we gonna do for water?
Right.
That's a big, huge problem with all the people in the town.
And then the commission hopes to address this in peer review and what we can do to remedy.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna follow along that row. I can't see all of you, so raise your hand.
Hi, my name is Diana.
Your name and address, please.
My Oxford Road, North Florida. I live right down the street from the dam. Problem with the dam is, first of all, I don't know if you guys know, but there's a lot of fish in it. You go over there anytime, there's people fishing in that river. Or that summit pond. And they seem not to have a problem. They swim along and enjoy life. The other part is, and you should know this, that there are, believe it or not, there is the home of the butterflies over there. And if you don't believe me, I just went to a meeting about it for the Beretta Fire Station, which is right down the street. So they can't touch that property because there's a certain type of butterflies that live there. So have you even explored that?
Where is that? Where is that? Sorry.
They're below the dam.
I know, let's get the address because that could, if it's what you're saying is true, we really need to identify. Where is this piece of property?
The piece of property is North Beretta Fire Station.
Okay.
They have identified that there is, on that whole parcel going up and down, there are specific species of, species, thank you, of butterflies.
All right, that's.
So that property can never be,
There won't be any change downstream, so it won't be impacted.
but have you looked to see if these butterflies live there?
Upstream, yes,
So I was just gonna say, all that stuff's under, handled under our consultation with natural heritage endangered species, which is part of Fish and Game. And,
They've already reviewed the project and didn't have any concerns, yeah. So the state, it looks at rare species throughout the state and keeps records and goes out and evaluates habitat for potential rare species. They've already reviewed the project.
So did they review the property in North Borica?
They wouldn't need to because there's no impact from this project downstream of here.
Is there, they would have reviewed it, so they know about the parcel you're speaking of.
Yeah.
And
They
look for
reviewed-
habitat nearby and not determine if there's habitat, that most likely determined it's not habitat that supports that species within the project area.
My other concern is with this dam. So you go on the other side where Pleasant Street Bridge is, that always gets flooded out. That's a dam that goes from this river, from the pond over to the swampland and on to Pleasant Street. So what are they gonna do about that pond?
The canal that, are you talking about the Middlesex Canal that has stagnant water in it? Oh,
The pond is here. The road is here. Mount Pleasant Street Bridge is here, and there's a pond right here.
okay,
So this pond leads into that pond, which eventually goes into the street.
okay. I'm not,
That's the water chestnut infested
oh, okay,
area.
just part of the, mill pond. Like another leg of the mill pond.
That's what's going to change into wetlands.
Yeah. Sorry.
For the water down.
Wanna do those?
She's talking on the corner of Rogers and Mount Pleasant. The right hand, if you were coming down Rogers Street on the right-hand side, Mill Pond's on your left. She's talking about the body of water that's on the right-hand side. Near the train bridge.
Yeah.
Right? Am I correct?
I'll be correct.
Okay.
Okay, and you're saying the connection is this? This is the legislation, okay. That is above the mill pond, I assume, yeah, so it would not be impacted by the project.
Well, it would go down.
Okay, I believe it's similar to the Ryder Street culvert, that it's perched and it's got its own hydrologic inputs and.
Well, why don't you look at
That's
that
what
again?
she's talking
There's
about.
another on the other side.
It is the Rogers Street Boulevard.
Yeah,
pond,
that's
yeah.
what she's talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah, we already looked at that, so that, yeah. Oh,
I believe.
yeah, I mean, you're not gonna go to, I think you would have talked about from here, but maybe. Just read. Is it something in here that you're finding, or way over at the Ironworks? No?
No, almost to the end, of Rogers Street on the right-hand side, before it hits Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, right before the corner.
Oh, okay, gotcha, yeah. Yeah, okay, sorry, got it. So that's part of the wetland complex that we identified as a BBW, and we feel that it would remain because of hydrologic inputs, but we will evaluate that. I make your review.
Yeah, all right, thank you. All right, is anyone else in that room? And the lady at the end, I can't see, but, anyone standing against the wall? Any of you gentlemen against the wall? Okay, I'll start over here in the last. Okay,
I'm Brian Henderson. I live at 31 Sprague Street. I'm a lifelong resident of the river. I was born on Station Street by the train station in Talbot Mills. When I first heard about the proposed dam removal in 2014 from the feasibility.
Brian.
Yep. When I first heard about the removal in 2014 from the feasibility study, my reaction was no way. And I had a strong appreciation for the Mill Pond beauty, the falls, and nostalgic ties from my youth. That is also when I heard about the fish, which caused me to be curious as why a fish would require a dam taken down. I quickly thought a fish ladder would resolve that, and it would be a win-win for all. In my research about the fish, the first thing I learned is that there are 5 androgynous fish species that are affected by the dam, not one. These species are the ones that live in, born in freshwater, live in saltwater, return to spawn in the freshwater. This commonly is understood by the salmon swimming upstream for spawning. Through that, I became involved in the fish monitoring of the Concord River and the return of herring, alewife, and shad species. each spring with the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust Group. I've done monitoring for 8 years now on both the Concord and the Shawshene River. The Shawshene River has had steadily a small amount returning of herring since the 2 dams were removed in 2016 and 17. The Concord has yet to see any significant return due to the existing dams that have broken the life cycle of these androgynous fish. It is even more important to all of us because these fish are known as the food source to the ocean fish industry, which we all eat from. And when the cycle is broken, the food source and the fish we like to eat goes down, decreasing the ocean fish population. With our current human population, we need that supply to go up, not down. All the aquatic life of the river itself gets better. When the fish can come up the river and spawn, their eggs feed the fish and the wildlife and local aquatic populations and increase and add creating a vibrant ecosystem all along the river. And remembering the natural historic life of the river that goes far beyond the colonial era, I do greatly appreciate the portion of rich colonial historic value of this site and the engineering they developed using water power at the start of the industrial era. It all made a huge contribution to our country's development. But now the dams don't serve the same purpose, and the dams are not on the path to decay or even catastrophe. Nature has a way of redeeming herself. With the dam removal, we can avoid the dam becoming compromised and failing. We can restore the ecosystem of the rivers and ocean, contribute to our ocean food supply. We can minimize the historic value of ruining of the area by making it into a historic park for a destination for visitors. We can gain access to a landlocked piece of conservation land on the backside of the pond, increase the water quality of the town because moving water is fresher than slow or stagnant water. We all, once again, see the river and we will all be able to see the river in its natural, ecological, healthy, functioning state for all to enjoy.
All right, Mr. Henderson, are you done?
One sentence.
All right.
The Concord River couldn't come tonight and speak for itself. So I'm asking us to listen to the river. It would like to flow and have its ecosystem restored. Thank you for that.
I think that's a ConCom sentence, but.
Joe Silva, Bridle Road. I've lived in this town 70 years, and all 70 has been along the river, 38 years where I am now. I have 105 feet of riverfront in my backyard. And I've seen it go to hell over the last years. At the mill pond where you have the water chestnuts, that is now in my backyard. That was never there before. Suasco very kindly came down this year and removed a field of it out of my backyard. Because of the water quality, because of the slow flow. I believe with the removal of the dam and with the studies they have done over how much the river will drop with the natural impoundment at the Fordway Bridge. It will drop about 2 inches in my backyard. But the flow will increase. It will clean up the river. It will take the sludge away. It will take those plants away. With a better flow, we're gonna have a better water quality, and we're gonna have less invasive species in there. And fish are not gonna live under the water chestnuts because there's no oxygen left. It stifles life. You don't have natural habitat for fish when it's all green over their head. So, if you're gonna ask me if am I in favor of removing the dam? Yes, I am. And as far as the Middlesex Canal, yes, it is very historic, but how much water from our river, from the Concord River, flows back out into the Middlesex Canal? If you go up Lowell Street, it's all dry. If you go over towards Woburn, it's all dry. If you head towards, Wilmington with the aqueduct, there's no water cascading off the side over there. It's all dry. It's filled with leaves, with brush. we're not gonna lose the significance of the, Middlesex Canal. We know it's been there. And it'll still be marked, but it's not like we're gonna lose water flow in it. So I just, again, I think for water quality and, basic habitat for fish, I'm in favor of it.
All right, thank you very much. That row?
Go ahead, you go.
I think you're in the order.
Okay. I'm Dan Cook, from Carlisle, and I'm on the board of the, Wildlands, the, Concord, Sudbury, actually the Concord, Wild and Scenic River Council, and represent Carlisle. I also work with ORS on doing water quality testing, bacteria testing, and do the fish, watches as well. And, the water quality is starting to improve in the Concord River, which is great. It's actually swimmable up by the Bedford 225 route bridge. And when you take the dam down, you have cooler water, and as the gentleman that just been saying, you'll have cleaner water. It also enables the fish to come upstream, and one thing I get excited about is that freshwater mussels throughout the watershed, and they spread by spraying their spawn on fish and getting into their gills and so on. And that's how these mussels migrate, and they filter 10 to 15 gallons a day of the water. So that also helps clean up the river as well, which is exciting. That's nature doing its job. And so by taking the dam down, we bring more fish, hopefully a lot more fish, like it was before 1711, and improve the water quality. One thing I also wanted to mention too, is a lot of dams that have been coming down, and now there's studies coming out that show that the property values actually increase when a dam is removed. And I don't know if you have some of that information there. There's something in the Journal of Environmental Planning and Management that I can share with you guys on that. And there's some other sources as well.
You're in favor of the dam coming down.
I'm in favor of the dam. I think the dam should come down. Thank you.
Anyone else back there?
Yeah.
You pulled me in behind the flag.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's your plan. Yeah, my name's Patrick Robbins, and I'm from Andover, Mass, but I'm here as I'm the secretary of the Merrimack Valley Paddlers. And we're a whitewater paddling group. I ran the Shawshene River, the Powder Mill Dam that was broken. It's, you can run at higher water, at lower run. It's too rocky, and there's no like good features, paddling features. I'm all in favor of the dam being removed, and I'll run it at efficient levels, but if it's done properly and it's not just dynamite or however it's done, and just with let the rocks, let the chips fall where they may. If it's done with a little bit of care, there'll be some sort of a surf feature and eddy service so that you can get in there. And I will point out to Franklin, New Hampshire, that was a town in big depression. And there was all kinds along the Winnipesaukee River, all kinds of homeless, all kinds of drugs. They basically turned that into a whitewater park with some development. So it's a derivative project. You could potentially do this. It's like an economic boom to a region, in this case, North Billerica, of the best quality. It's not just an economic boom. It really does. Paddlers would come there. Franklin's far away. It's the only whitewater park in all England. People would come up there, and we like to eat. We like to go to brew pubs after we paddle, and it's fun. And it's really unique. And I think if it were removed, I don't know how much thought you put into this, but where you place those boulders or whatever is going to go in, consider having some hydrological features that would make a surfable wave. And it's not just for us kayakers. I mean, people boogie board, and in the Winnipesaukee River in Franklin, kids were boogie boarding there all summer long because it was lower flow. They might not want to go in when it's higher flow, but it was something to do recreationally all summer long. And it's still, you can go up there now and check it out, even at low water. So,
Are you in favor of the dam?
so I'm in favor of the removal, but I'm just as in favor of how it gets done.
All right,
And,
we'll take that note down.
and
Pass it.
And just one quick to answer the question about flow, right now, there's and it's done the Merrimack River and Lawrence, they're doing work on that hydro dam. I've been surfing the ledge waves at Stackpole, and it's barely, I can't notice a change upstream because there are some shoals and there's another ledge, just as you were talking about at the Duck Island, near the Duck Island, so that is just a mitigation. You can see this now. It's going on now. You can look at the USGS gauges and compare the results. So there's an actual case study to answer that question. So many of the residents are concerned with water. That
Look at that.
There's a 5-foot drawdown, and they're filling it back up this week. So if you're gonna go, if you're going to go look, you want to go look like tomorrow, because it's a temporary service drawdown at the Greystone Dam. in Lawrence.
you can also look at the gauges.
You can see, I mean, you can see it, but if you
All
want
right,
to physically see
thank
it.
you.
Yes. Yeah, sorry.
That's a concern that we've written down and belong to us to either we'll get more information and go on some of them. Peer review. Okay, I'm going to, commission any final questions, any final comments? I might do you have any comments? Then, obviously, I think you're all coming, give out, and things to send up to the peer review and be very busy. So this needs to be continued. There's no way to turn around. The fall is actually in December, and it's going to be December 11th.
What is that? I'm not. That is the original, right? The bridge upstream from the. No, I'm. Just below this, halfway to the. I'm saying. Yeah, yeah. Oh, there's no water. No, it's not white water. No, everybody thinks it's great. It's not. No, it's damn down. Good night. All right, well, I thought you were talking. No. There's already class 2 walking away. I kind of understand. I've been doing it.
Please. Just a minute, be quiet. This is all on a tape. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, make a motion.
Can I make a motion that we continue the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the local wetland protection bylaw wetlands hearing, and for Fall Smith Street, Talbot Mills, Robert Martin, CRT Development Realty LLC, file number 109-1585, BBL-1585, the meeting of December 11th, 2022. So that it can go for peer review, but it's get more information.
Yes, okay, that's Diane made a motion and Jack seconded.
Jack.
Jack. Sorry, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, as unanimous. All right, thank you, everybody.
The extension. Yeah, any better request from us?
Continue on down to 5. And then just today, right in the day.
Yeah, I'll get up in writing how you work. That's what I have opposition say, we want you to. Okay, I'm okay with it.
But there's some there,
Yeah.
and then they're thinking that either the people out there that die. You can go there for hours. You know, yeah, selfishly, it's in a lower area, but, you know, like, it's great. I see what right? Your camera. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's why she moved it around.
Excuse me, gentlemen, if everyone can talk in a normal conversation, like we still in our meeting, we have to still have some.
We would like to go home tonight too.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all right. Yeah, I can.
Engineer. Where's the engineer? All right. Come on, engineer.
Like revision, Michael, why don't you go over the revisions first?
Yep, so staff got, a revised plan and a revised O and M plan from Weston Williams Way. We did take a look at it and all comments have been addressed.
All right, thank you. Diane, do you have any other questions?
The only question I had was, you need to mention that all the wetlands were off-site and verified on a certain date. Can that be in the record?
Yes, yeah, and he did date on the revised plan.
He added that, okay,
Yes.
good, thank you, I'm all set.
All right, Jack,
No, sir.
Christine, I'm good, Jack.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, and I don't think there was any variance for this.
No, I don't think there were. In that case, I will make a motion to close the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, the local wetland protection bylaw, wetlands hearing notice of intent for 123 Andover Road, Field Trust. File number 109-1584, L-1584, and include all special conditions as discussed throughout the hearings, and sign an issue order.
And that was Christine, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, that's unanimous. Okay. It's now 8:40. And I will open the hearing, continue public hearing for 505 Boston Road, file number 109-154-1548, and VDL 1548. Again, this is a revised Mike,
Yeah.
Steve and that.
So Steve, Russ Williams Way, also submitted an O and M plan. And then a revised plan that was submitted today. Staff did review it and he did address the comments.
Any questions, Diane?
Nope, I'm all set.
Jack?
I'm all set.
Christine? I'm good, thank you. Jack?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, you have a motion?
In that case, I believe there were two variances required on this
Yes.
one. Okay, I will make a motion that we grant a variance to, section, 3.03C2 for an increase in the impervious area. I'm C2, yeah. For an increase in the impervious area in the buffer zone to an increase greater than 25%. With the understanding that, there is going to be extensive, cleanup of debris. There'll be restoration and mitigation and enhancement planting, as well as other.
Do I have a second?
Jack.
Jack?
Second.
Jack. Oh, Jack.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, that's unanimous.
Okay, I now make a motion that we grant a variance to section 3.03C3 for work within the 25-foot no alteration zone for the same reasons, extensive debris, cleanup, restoration, enhancement, and mitigation.
Okay, that's done. You made a motion, Jack, go in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous.
Now I will make a motion that we close the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and go into Wetlands Protection Bylaw hearing. No, for 505 Boston Road, Repute Outlet LLC, DEP file number 109-1548, DBL -1548, include all special conditions as discussed at the hearing, sign and issue an order of conditions within 28 days.
Second. That's Diane made the motion, Christine seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, opposed, that's unanimous. Okay.
Who seconded the second variance?
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
It was Jack that did both, right?
Yeah.
Jack, it's Jack.
Jack.
Okay, then it is now 8:45. I will open the continued public hearing for 309 Boston Road, file number 109-1581, BBL 1581. The applicant has asked to have it continue to 11/13/2024. That motion.
So moved.
And that was Jack?
Yeah.
Okay, the motion by Diane, seconded by Jack, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstaining, unanimous. Number one.
That one was already continued.
That was November.
That's what I thought,
That
right?
continued to December.
The next one we already continued, so we don't need to do that right here. Okay.
Okay, so we go on to administrative.
Yep, so, 20 Purcell is DEP file 109-1378, the BBL 1378. This is for a sunroom and deck on sonotubes. And right now, we recommend no formal action to accept or deny the certificate of compliance. The visual barrier is not in the correct location, and there is some as-built updates that need to be provided to staff.
So moved.
Second.
That was Diane made the motion, Jack Bowen seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous. Okay.
All right, so the next one is 11 Kingston Street, which is DEP file 109-1570/BBL 1570. This came recently to the commission. They did this in August, they did the septic system in the front, and then they regraded the back. At this point, we're recommend no formal action to accept or deny the certificate of compliance because there's updates to the as-built and there's 2 full growing season to all the restoration plantings that were provided.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Diane, it was seconded by Jack, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, unanimous.
So miscellaneous updates, request for the alternate position for the River Stewardship Council or Trek Reed.
Do we need an alternate? I would like to speak on this. I am not sure, but I thought not too long ago, we got information that Mr. Reed was not actually going to all the meetings. So it would be my instinct to not, unless we, this is for the alternate, right? If we don't need an alternate right now, I would think we should get some more thought. I hold this off and so the,
To the next meeting, or so we get more information.
well, I guess, yeah. Is there some way, Chris?
That was sent to
also?
goes in October 10th.
From, I see that from the.
It was the,
It was from one of these, but then Isabel sent you back one.
I think I did read this, but. I think it is there some way that we could get a hold of him and ask for his input and his attendance for Mr. Reed?
or to come to a,
No, I just wondered if we could get a hold of, what is this, the Suasco?
We're gonna find out who's intent for the reason what's in the meetings or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, might maybe we could just ask for a call.
Okay.
And see if he's been attending the meetings and what his, attendance has been and what his input has been. And also whether we need an alternative. I'm not sure. We have my lease. Who I know is pretty faithful. Just,
I'll talk, I'll,
am I wrong, or do we have a memory of this coming up before we heard its attendance?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while, okay.
so we can, I guess, find more information
Right.
and circle back to this.
So, right, this is miscellaneous, we don't need a motion or anything, but we'll postpone it for more information. We'll find out.
Do you want a motion to that?
Do you think you need a motion? I don't know.
Just-
Okay.
Is it roll call?
Yeah.
I mean, is everyone in favor of that?
Yes, I already got this.
So really his attendance, but it's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, minutes, I'll turn it over.
Turn over to the secretary.
Okay, there's a long list of them on here, and I feel comfortable, requesting approval, with minor corrections for 4 of them. So for, first one would be April 26, 2023. I make a motion that we accept them with minor corrections.
It's Diane and Jack, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, that's unanimous.
Okay, February 28, 2024, again with minor corrections. I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Second, Christine.
Okay, that was Diane made the motion, Christine seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
The third one is March 13th, 2024, with minor corrections.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion, yeah, sorry. For second, thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second, Christine.
Christine, I'm sorry, Christine, here. That's Diane, Christine second, all in favor?
And then the first one is the March 27th, 2024, with minor corrections. I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Second.
Jeff.
No, this one was Jeff.
Oh,
It was- The seconds were Jack, Christine, and now Jeff.
Now Jack.
Well,
And now
good job, did.
Oh, all of you.
I'll chime in.
All in favor?
Aye.
All seconded.
Okay.
Table, January, September and September.
Yep.
Yes, with those
Yeah.
articles.
Table the other three. Hopefully until the next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Christine just said motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Is
I
8:52?
second it.
Okay, that was Christine, it was 8:52, and that was Jeff,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Is Paul approving that?
You're right, hope you will.
Oh.
Be careful what your wish for, see?
All in all, that wasn't that.
Yeah, that one.